Wade
and Wade
Reacts.
This is our review for X-Men 97. We're gonna tell you the good, the bad, the nitpicks, and some spoilers, but we're gonna get into that at the end. So before we get into that, if you haven't seen X-Men 97, you can click off the video. What's good about it?
X-Men 97 is X-Men at its peak, X-Men at its height. The writer did a good job at bringing up to date the 1992 version of X-Men. He didn't deviate from the character makeup. The characters felt the same as they did in the 1992 version. Plus, he even expanded upon the characters and their stories in X-Men 97. The action was great. The action was phenomenal. And the way that the writing team pieced together these scenes was the best that they could do. They introduced some characters that we didn't get a chance to see in the 1992 version of X-Men, and some characters that may have been underused, they were well used in this series. We got a chance to see a character that I've never seen before. His name is Morph. And they added, after doing some research, I found out that they added some abilities to his attributes. Morph in the comics can transform into other mutants, but he doesn't take on their powers. He actually was able to take on the abilities of others. I thought that was a nice touch. Plus, they follow some of the story arcs from comic books that we wanted to see adapted either in a live action version or on an animated platform as they did here. And that, as a fan, was good to see.
Yeah, I think this is the best X-Men content as far as any type of live action or animation that we've seen in a long time. They need to let this dude and the team they worked on the show, when they get ready to do the live action, they need to bring them from this show and put them on that, because this is what I wanted to see. There's a full-fledged X-Men team that's nothing like X1 or X2 where you got half of the team, or some movies you don't even have a team. This is what I wanted to see the whole time. They take all the characters, even some of the small ones, might not be a big character arc, but they take every single last character in this show on a character arc. And they expand on what the cliffhangers from 92's version of X-Men animated series and other TV shows. We're gonna get into that at the end. There's a character, and the character is with somebody. And if you watch this old show, you know that this character was missing for a long time. And if you have not seen this show yet, I don't know what you're doing. Turn it off right now, whatever you're looking at, whatever other show you're watching in. Go on Disney Plus and watch X-Men 97. So let's get into the bad.
There wasn't too much I could say that was bad about the show.
I do have some bad with this show. They elevate certain characters over other characters for the sake of the plot. We know there are certain characters like Storm, Omega level mutant.
Yeah.
But when it's time to use her Omega level mutant powers, we might see her handcuffed, and we know Storm doesn't need her hands to activate her weather abilities.
Exactly.
But they still had her in a chokehold, and without getting into too much spoilers, we'll get into that later in the video. Cable, certain parts of it, he has telekinesis. He wasn't using his telekinesis when he got depowered for a little bit, and then when the plot called for it, certain things happened to Magneto that I thought shouldn't have happened to Magneto. So that was my major problem with the show, is that when it came to, when you're writing, you have to elevate every character that has a certain power level. You have to keep that power level consistent throughout the whole show. You can't lower the power just because it's plot. Okay, he needs to be captured right here, so we're gonna make him weaker.
Yeah, you can't do that, because that messes up the integrity of the story. And it'll leave the fans thinking, if this person did that in a previous scene, if this character displayed a high level of power 2 scenes ago, why come this character can't do the same thing here? It just doesn't line up. It doesn't make any sense.
That's pretty much all the bad I had. That's how good the show was. That was my only problem with this show. But let's get into the nitpicks.
I didn't like that the X-Men changed into their older costumes, their 1970s comic book costumes. I think they should have either stayed in the costumes that they were wearing in the beginning of the series, or they should have changed into some new and improved costumes. I didn't like the recycling of the old costumes. To me, it didn't look right on them, especially Jean Grey's outfit. I didn't like hers at all. That was terrible. That skirt. Why are you wearing a skirt into a fight? I mean, that's crazy. They should have improved on the design instead of regressing.
I didn't have a problem with that. My only problem was that when they did the last mission, the teams, I didn't feel like the teams were right. Certain people shouldn't have been fighting this evil villain, which he took an asteroid up. Certain characters would have been better on the ground.
True.
Than going up in space and fighting that evil villain. That was one of my nitpicks. And then another nitpick that I had with the show, we seen that they had other characters from different properties that are introduced. I know this is X-Men, but like you said when we was watching it, where are those characters and why aren't they doing anything to, lessen the blow of the villains in the show?
Exactly. That didn't make any sense. They were just standing by and watching everything go on, watching the world almost get destroyed and not stepping in. Those cameos should not have been in that particular episode, because as fans of these characters, you know them. And you're like, this particular person would not allow this to go on. It would be over instantly if he was in the picture, which he was, so it didn't make sense for it to go on like that. Then where in the world was Bishop?
We can talk about that in the spoilers.
That didn't make any sense. That's my nitpick right there. Where the heck was he?
Yeah, I had that same sentiment. But since we talk about that, this is a chance for you to leave the video if you haven't seen X-Men 97 yet, because we're about to get into spoilers. What were you saying about Bishop?
He went through a portal with Cable and never came back. Cable came back, but Bishop didn't. And nobody, the writers, didn't explain what happened to Bishop. Cable didn't even know what happened to Bishop. It's like he transported Cable through the future and just dipped. Went on vacation. Like, well, where did he go? See, I ain't coming back. I love this. Shoot.
Yeah, that's what I was saying too. I was watching the whole show. I'm like, man, Cable gonna come back sooner or later. Man, episode after episode passed since he took Cable to the future, and Bishop never came back. I'm like, man, and Cable came back before Bishop.
Yeah.
And it's like, man, y'all know how y'all can time travel. So if anything, you could have traveled a little bit further up, because he said they got separated in the time stream. I think Bishop went to a timeline further up than where he went. You can find them. But if they don't have because they gotta have technology like that, because Bishop can come right back to the time period at the end of the show, the finale, and say, hey, I'm coming here to help you. Yeah. So if he has the exact time, where they got left off, he knows the exact place to come out at the right. To me, that's crazy. Why would he come back after? Couldn't he have came back before they got teleported to X-Men?
Yeah, right.
Like, bro,
I mean, they better not say anything crazy in the second season, like Bishop is dead or something like that.
Yeah, but he came back at the end. He met up with Forge.
Oh, he did? Okay.
Yeah. So that's why I'm like, man, that's why I was like, where was he at the whole time? Because he could come back the exact moment when everything, all hell breaks loose, but he can't come back just a little bit before that.
Yeah, exactly.
And then they did a lot of interesting things in the show. The show started off, it was pretty, standard X-Men. Mm-hmm. We had the X-Men team. Then they just, I think it was like episode 3, they threw us for a clip. This ain't even Jane, it's a clone.
Yeah. They did a whole lot.
Yeah, and then right after the clone, they like, and matter of fact, before the clone, it's even worse. Magneto came to the house like, hey, this is my mansion now, and y'all my X-Men.
Yeah.
Yeah, so they was just kept throwing it. Then the Genosha thing, when all the mutants got whooped by the Sentinels, killed. Like, they weren't pulling no punches, and I feel like
Gambit made his sacrifice.
Yeah, and they weren't pulling no punches. I feel like that's how shows should be. When it comes to, TV shows, whether it's animation, live action, get rid of the fluff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this didn't have any fluff, or barely any fluff. Now, the slow moments were essential slow-mo moments. Mm-hmm. They felt necessary. It didn't feel like, we have action in this episode, but we got a lot of space and time right here. Let's write some dialogue that doesn't even push the story forward. Let's waste the people's time. Let's bore the people a little bit and then give them some action in the next episode. They didn't do that. Everything was necessary. Every piece of dialogue felt essential to the plot.
Yeah, and they didn't waste time on that stupid love triangle between Jean Grey, Scott, and Madeline Pryor. It was kind of like a four-way love triangle because Wolverine was like
Logan.
And then it was so crazy to me because I'm like, man, can't he have Jean and he just have Madeline?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking because it seemed like Cyclops was more invested in Madeline because even Jean Grey looked into his thoughts and saw that he had strong feelings for her because they share a son. So why not allow Logan? That's what I was saying. Like, he can have one of them. Why not allow Logan to get Jean Grey since Cyclops is already into Madeline? Like, man, let Logan have something.
Yeah, they was
always taking L's.
Yeah, he ain't got nothing but more. Yeah, but yeah, that's why I was thinking, like, man, they could just end this right now. And Jean even kissed Logan too, because remember after she kissed him, Scott was having a date in the Astro World with Madeline.
Yeah.
And I don't know if the fans, you could tell us, does Madeline come back? Is that the end of her? Is she dead in the comics, or does she come back and cause more havoc? And then I like that this show, they expanded the animated universe. Man, we had Spider-Man, we had Doctor Strange, we had Daredevil, we had Cloak and Dagger. Fantastic Four.
Captain America.
Yeah, Captain America, Iron Man. Fantastic Four, a reference with Mr. Fantastic. I would like to see the Fantastic Four in this show because I feel like they would have been putting in work too.
Yeah.
We got Quicksilver, we got Scarlet Witch, we got Silver Samurai. It just kept going. The thing I didn't like.
You had some other cameos too. You had the alien race, what's their name?
Oh, the Shi'ar, yeah.
The Shi'ar. And we had someone I don't believe has ever really been animated. If he has, we haven't seen him display any kind of power. That was Gladiator. That scene right there was crazy.
Gladiator was an old one.
Okay.
But the thing I didn't like, there was a couple of characters that was missing from the old animation that I wanted to see. Where was the Punisher? The Punisher was in the old Spider-Man. The Punisher would have been punishing, especially when that black eye happened, everybody was looting and robbing. Now we did see Daredevil, but another character that we didn't see that was in the old animation was Blade. Where was Blade? Remember Blade used to have that laser sword back in the old Spider-Man. I wanted to see that in this TV show. And speaking of the characters, cameos, the end.
Where's Moon Knight?
I don't think he ever showed.
That would have been a good cameo, though.
You know what, they could have,
especially at a time like this.
Yeah, because I don't ever think Cloak and Dagger showed up in the old animation either, so they could have had Moon Knight. But the thing that I was looking forward to, I forgot they had Doctor Doom, Baron Zemo. This show was crazy. And the biggest cameo was at the end. How the show ended. 3 different timelines, because the X-Men get separated. 3 different timelines. They went back to old ancient Egypt. They met Apocalypse. And then they looked over, they saw that dome. A lot of people are saying that that's Rama-Tut. And you know Rama-Tut, he's a version of Kang. So they're adding Kang into this. Then in modern times, we saw Apocalypse
is trying to take over.
And then in the future, too. They got the future. Yeah, they got that future where he's actually ruling the earth. So it's 3 different timelines, and we don't know what's gonna happen, because at first, I thought that the modern X-Men was gonna go back in time, the ones that got left behind to help them, but they're gonna have to deal with Apocalypse.
Yeah, and then we might do a video on this topic, so I ain't gonna go too far into it, but let's entertain this idea for a second. Magneto, Professor Xavier, Cyclops, Jean Grey, and a few others, I ain't gonna take too much time, are in the past and met Apocalypse in his youth, while he was fighting off those who tried to kill him because he displayed mutant powers, and Xavier is communicating with him. So maybe Xavier can train him up, maybe the X-Men can train him up, and he can help them defeat the Apocalypse in modern times and possibly help them defeat the Apocalypse that is the king of the world in the future.
Man, that'd be interesting, but I don't know if they're gonna go that route. I think that they're gonna do, because remember Beast was saying that there were certain events that had to happen. He was saying that that's what the monks at Kamar-Taj was saying, which, if you know what that is, that's a shout out to Doctor Strange, where he trained at. So I think that they are gonna go back, maybe, like you said, they are gonna try to work with Apocalypse, but I think them meddling in the past is gonna take Apocalypse from where we saw him, that he didn't have any power, to where he was in the modern times and where he was in the future. That's what I'm thinking. That
makes sense too. But I was thinking, so all these timelines have to be connected then if what they do in the past, what they do in the present, is going to affect change and make that type of future.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. I was throwing my theory out. What you said could happen too, though. That would be interesting as well.
Yeah, these are two theories and two directions that this X-Men series could go in, and the fans would be equally satisfied with both of them.
Yeah, I almost forgot about this. For all you old Spider-Man fans from the '98 version, in the old cartoon, Peter Parker couldn't find Mary Jane because he found out that Mary Jane that he thought, because I think he even proposed to Mary Jane, or they got married or something like that, and Mary Jane was a water clone. And she turned to water. But the writer of this show, he recently said on Twitter that Peter Parker has finally found the real Mary Jane.
Okay, then. Wow.
So for all the fans, I know people wanted to actually see that in the Spider-Man show, but hey, he beat him to the punch.
Yeah, and he's turning the stones that were left unturned in the older series.
Yeah. So man, I can't wait for season 2. They need to hurry it up. I know we probably got to wait till next year, but they say I already got it finished, but I think they're animating it.
So how would you rate this show?
Man, from a scale of whack to masterpiece, I'm gonna go ahead and say this is a masterpiece. That's what I'm gonna go ahead and say it.
I would say the same thing. I would say it is a masterpiece. There were certain things that they could have done better. I didn't find anything bad in the show, only nitpicks. So I'll go ahead and say masterpiece as well. Hopefully the second season is just as good, as since they fired the writer, I'm praying for the third and fourth.
Man, bring him back. Stop playing.
Got to bring him back. Pay him a little bit more so he won't have to do the things that he's doing to make ends meet on the side. Come on, y'all. Y'all got the money. This is Marvel Studios. Pay this man.
Exactly. But hey, that's been our review. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, share this video, and we'll see you in the next one. We out of here.
Peace.